Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and this afternoon I'm joined by Kevin McCluskie and Laura Bradburn for Livingston 0, Celtic 1 at half time. Laura, they gave us a wee scare at the end, and I was just saying there before coming on live, that is on the back of a brilliant save by Joe Hart 6 minutes into the game as well. We really need that second goal just to settle the nerves, because it's, margins like that, they fit the bar. Hearts had a great save, even though Celtic have dominated that first half.
I think, Hibs have perhaps... Hibs. I'm thinking Hibs because you said Hart, even though you were... Livingston have certainly come out and, had a go at us in some ways a little bit more than they normally do. But I have to say, aside from that, I think it's probably the best we've played in probably 5 or 6 weeks at this point. I think not just in terms of dominating possession, because I think we've done that in previous matches without having much impact, but the way we're moving the ball about, the chances we're creating, we are absolutely managing to break them down, and I can see another goal coming pretty soon, but it is going to need that second goal, I think, to settle the nerves for us.
Yeah, definitely. What's your thoughts, Kevin? Mojo Rising comes in, nearly came a cropper there. Another set-piece failure, been playing great as well. It would have been a real sucker punch, and I think that's what we're saying here. Not to be negative, it's been a very positive first half. We should really be 2 up. Of course, we'll talk about the penalty. But we need that second goal just to settle the nerves a wee bit.
I think we certainly do. But, if they don't have that chance right at the end of the half, I think we come in with a kind of different state of mind about how that half went. We dominated that first half from pretty much the 6th minute onwards. As you say, Joe Hart made that save early doors, but from then on, it's been a really comfortable half for us. Kind of dominating a lot of possession. We've created chances. We talked about having to mix up the cross balls that we were putting in from the previous games, and we've done that today. There's been a few different type of delivery that's gone in there. Striek, the keeper's fumbled a couple, so there's a lot of positives we can take from the approach that we've had. But, we definitely need a second, because Livy, not a great footballing side, are a physical side, and they've caused us problems at every single set piece that they've had. So we definitely need that second goal just to give that bit of buffer and a bit of confidence that we can go and see this one through.
Definitely. I was watching the first 5 minutes with interest, because the first 4 crosses that went in were typical of what we were discussing before the game, high and over everybody's heads. Then Jota comes in 10 minutes into the game and plays a tremendous ball, flashing right across the face of goal. All it really needed was somebody like Maeda to time his run, and that was wide open. Let's go into the 13th minute, Laura, and we win a penalty. Maeda wins it. So we shouldn't really forget that as well, because I know we didn't score it, but Maeda done the work to actually win the penalty. What was your thoughts, McGregor stepping up? He's obviously is he the second choice penalty kick taker? Is he the third choice penalty kick taker? He steps up, he does the captain's thing, but he hits the post.
Well, listen, I like to have a little bit more of a nuanced take on football at times, but the one thing that I think is pretty simplistic to me is, why are the people that are supposed to be the goal scorers on the pitch not the ones taking the penalties? To me, that makes 100% of sense. And I know that I'm saying that despite the fact Juranovic has got the scoring record he's got, and he's particularly good from penalties, but even still, I think unless you've got a penalty taker specialist like Juranovic, who isn't a striker, it should be the strikers taking the penalties. And not to come down on Maeda too much, because I actually think he had exactly the impact in this game that I would want him to have before we came on, started the game. I think he perhaps should be stepping up to take the penalty in that case. The thing with McGregor is he was almost on a hiding to nothing there, because if he scores it, great, he scored it. But then if he misses it, there's this narrative there that isn't there with any other player on the pitch at that point in time, which is, he's now missed a couple of penalties in a row, and, it becomes a talking point. So for me, it would have made more sense for Maeda and possibly Jota to score it, because I can't imagine with the instinctive finishing that those two players have that they would be bad at taking penalties. But yeah, it's a strange one to me, and as is Andy Walker's interpretation of what a handball is at times, but I'm sure we'll go on to that.
Well, Johnny Ryan asks the question, what was the difference between the two penalty shouts? And Scott responds by saying you don't get two penalties in this league. But we missed the penalty, of course. And just a minute or two later, McGregor heads over. It seemed like it was a decent enough chance from a Jota cross, as it happens, Kevin. It was onto his head, but it wasn't one of these searching crosses. It was more direct. He heads over, and I'm sitting there looking at that 15 minutes in thinking we've missed a penalty. The captain's just headed a decent chance over the bar. It's going to be another one of those days. Two penalty misses, of course, against Livingston this season. And then we open the scoring. Were you concerned at that point? Were you concerned, Kevin, it was going to be another one of those afternoons?
Yes and no. I've got that written down in my notes as well, that it's the second penalty we've missed against them this season. It's McGregor. 2 minutes later, McGregor misses that chance. I was more thinking it's just not going to be his day, because say from the 7th minute onwards, 6th, 7th minute onwards, we were the better team. So we've had 10 minutes up to that point where we've kind of dominated it. We've created chances, and I could just see, if we kept on playing that way, a goal would come, or the chances would keep on coming in any case, and you've got to be confident that we'd put one of them away. So I wasn't overly concerned at that point that it might not be our day, but my concern is mainly how it would affect Callum McGregor, as to how he could pick himself back up. And I think he's done pretty well. He's not really let either of those misses affect his performance. He's kind of continued to drive on, lead as a captain. So, I mean, at the moment, no concerns in that respect.
We open a goal scoring, Laura, 16 minutes into the game. You've got to go back to winning the corner kick. Ralston wins a dubious corner. The Jota cross, excellent. Starfelt, again, wins the ball like he did on Wednesday night, which resulted in the Carter Vickers opening goal and made us at the back post to slot it in. We've got Chancellor coming in saying the inclusion of Maeda proved right. Exclusion of JJ proved a mistake. That's not a slight on Ralston. There was chat before the game about the inclusion of Maeda. It does sound as though he has it right. And with Angie's words ringing in your ears, you watch the work that Maeda's doing off the ball, and he really does bring quite a lot to that Celtic forward line, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. We talked about before the game how he always is busy and he's always creating chances and working hard, and sometimes that can be fruitless and make him look like a bit of a headless chicken, but sometimes, like today, it comes off, and that's why I was pleased to see him in the starting lineup. Just going on to the comment that the commenter made about Juranovic, I'm not sure, apart from the penalty miss, why his exclusion is a mistake, because Ralston is having an absolutely brilliant game so far for me and is providing an awful lot down that right-hand side. So if you're saying that the exclusion of a player is a mistake in case we get a penalty that they can take, then I don't think that's how you select a football team. There should be plenty enough. We talked about squad game before the match. There should be plenty enough players who are able to score a penalty that doesn't become the defining factor in whether you include a player in your starting lineup or not.
Kevin, what's your take on Maeda? Good point by Laura there, but what I've noticed about him is he's coming back. Actually, his defensive work's extremely good as well. He's working back. You see him quite a lot, even in his own half, trying to win the ball, close down the opponents. He's running into the channels. He's doing things that create a wee bit of chance for Jota and Forrest to come inside, like we said at the beginning of the game. And of course, his goal's the difference between the two sides. So Ange has been absolutely right in selecting him over Giakoumakis at this stage, I would say.
Yeah, it looks that way. He's had an excellent first half. I think his work rate is never in doubt. Today he's kind of proved that, and we're probably watching that a lot more today after Andy's comments during the week. Mm-hmm. So it's more in our mind. But you've seen him today. He's dropped back maybe 30, 40 yards from goal to link the play up. He's hassling defenders all over the park to try and win the ball back. It's him that wins the penalty by having that quick instinct just to pick up on the loose ball and get the shot away. It's the striker's instinct to be at the right place at the right time for the goal. He's doing everything that we want him to be doing today. He's definitely justified his inclusion in the team.
Aye, I would agree with that. Absolutely no doubt. Stephen Sloan, welcome back. You're commenting on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. Like the video as well. How can Jota be so skillful yet he can never find a man with his crosses? We need a second goal to kill the game off. I think he has mixed it up a little bit, like what Kevin McCluskie was saying earlier on. And Scott Howe, playing well, obviously annoyed at missed chances, but the bench is solid. Giakoumakis would have got on a few of Jota's crosses. I'm pretty sure we'll see the introduction of Giakoumakis in this second half. And how many crosses in that half? 17. Well, at least one of them resulted in a goal, didn't it? From the corner kick, which separates the side now. The talk at the beginning of the game, Laura, was about the changes that Ange made, and the question around, Forrest, Rogic and Beaton, as well as Ralston, who we've already discussed. But I think when you look at the performances of those three players, maybe in particular near Beaton, Ange has been spot on with his team selection this afternoon, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it proves what we were talking about before the game. If the players that you're bringing in are good enough and they understand what they're being asked to do and what their job is, then to all intents and purposes, that is the job of a manager, and the individual players should be interchangeable, especially if it's only 3 or 4 players out of an 11. I would say, like you say, out of those 4 changes, 3 of them are doing great. I still don't think Forrest is having a great impact down the right-hand side. It might be, that the ball is just being focused down the left-hand side, more down Jota, because I think he's got the beating of Livy's right back. But for me, Forrest is the only one there where you could say, I think Abada coming on would improve things for us. But yeah, no, the changes have proved exactly what we were talking about before the game, that, as long as the system's understood well enough, as long as the managers get his message across, and as long as the players he's selecting can do the jobs that they're required to do, then actually the slight changes and tweaks in personnel can only help, not hinder us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Keogh reckons that we are winning the midfield battle, and Ewan Boy Martin was waxing lyrical there about Beaton's first half performance. Kevin, that's made a huge change this afternoon, hasn't it? The midfield battle, which, by the way, I think we've lost that a couple of times in recent games. We have.
Beaton's been instrumental today in us winning the midfield. I'm a fan of Beaton. I think he's a classy player to have in that kind of holding midfield role. He's not a player for every game, but he is a player for this game because he's got that physical presence. He's calm and composed in the ball. His range of passing's really good. There's the ball that he clipped over the top 5 minutes to go, I think, in the half for James Forrest. They got on the end of Forrest, went over in his ankle after he collected it. But it's those kind of things that Beaton does. It just kind of helps to bring the team together. One of the things I like about him, and probably about the way Ange's picked his team today, is he's picked players to do certain roles within the team. I think we can kind of sometimes get hung up on positions, and we expect a player to do a job in a position. But it's the role that he's asking players to do. So Beaton's coming to do a specific role today that no one else in their squad can do, and that's kind of just be that defensive linchpin in the midfield. If you go with O'Reilly and Rogic in there, you lose that defensive stability that someone like him brings. So, I think Beaton's been an instrumental player, and I think just Ange's team selection today and the roles that he's asking everyone to do, and the players actually carrying those instructions out has been fantastic so far in that first 45.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We spoke before the game, Laura, about Jota, the fact we needed a performance from Jota. There's been some comments coming through saying that his crossing's not been good enough. He looks in the mood. He looks keen. He's making himself available at all times for the out ball. I think he's had a very good first half.
I think he's had a great first half. I think he sometimes still does leave a bit wanting as far as his final ball's concerned, and I think his shooting has been better earlier in the season than it is now. But I still think, like I said before, that he is by far and away the most dangerous player we have the majority of the time that he's on the pitch. He's the most able to create something out of nothing, either for himself or for somebody else. I think he's proven that again today, and I think, he's one of these players that he could be having an absolute stinker, which he isn't today, but he could be, but he will still, you still can't write them off at any point, because there could just be a wee moment of magic. And that's something that's been present throughout Celtic history with certain players, Lubo Moravcik, Henrik Larsson, Jimmy Johnston, Kenny Dalglish. You could go back and back and back. That sometimes a player is just somebody who, regardless of what they do for the majority of a 90 minutes, as long as they're on the pitch, you've got a chance. And I think Jota fits in that category.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, Laura. Neil Reid in complete control, but we need a second goal. Will we rue that penalty miss? Typical, get a penalty and JJ on the bench. Martin, we should have 3 or 4 players that can step up and slot a penalty away. But there we go. We will see at the end of the game if that is going to be a pivotal moment. That's the game underway. Thank you everybody for getting involved. Over 1,000 of you strong, which is much appreciated across all the platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, get subscribing to the channel. And thank you to Laura Bradburn and Kevin McCluskie for joining me once again on A Celtic State of Mind.